Okay, in this video, I would like to let you know how to implement propensity matching using R. And you can see the matching R script. And we will use this data set. And we also use this package called match it. Okay. So you can open the R script matching R. And as usual, you need to set up the folder where that folder might store your data set, and then you can load your package. And I have installed, so I just need to load, but if you haven't, you need to install. And we will use the data we store in the folder here, and so you need to change if you store in other folders, and we want to read it from, because this is the data file and we want to read to the R, so we use read DTA and assign the read after we read it, and we assign to this object lambda object, and that is the data set we have. So the first variable is the treatment variable, and the outcome is RE78, is the wage, the individual's income, wage income in 1978. And we want to know whether they join the job training program or not. How does this job training program affect their wage? Okay, that's the thing we want to do. And we do some data, we generate a new variable called block and histband. That's my use for our matching variable. So we just generate this variable, this dummy variable. And so the first command is we just run the regression. LN is a regression, and if you the outcome is the wage in 1978. Is treatment variable. Just very simple relationship we want to know. We want to compare the difference between the treatment group and control group in terms of their outcome. And the data we use is this data frame object. And this will give you the result. So you can see the summary, basically the result. We find those who join job training program, their wage are even lower, but it's not significant. And this could be due to they have other difference before the matching, like their age could be different, their initial wage is different, or their education level is different, their race are different. So we need to make sure treatment group and control group, they have the same characteristics. So here is just show there's some difference in the sample characteristic for treatment group and control group. So we can just run this, just compare these two groups difference, and you can find the treatment group actually they are younger. So your outcome now is use the age and the treatment. So this can help you to compare the treatment group and control group their age. And you can find the treatment group, they tend to have younger. So maybe that's why they those who join job training program tend to be younger. So that's why their wage are lower. That's possible. So the next thing is you try to use propensity matching to create the more suitable control group to compare with the treatment group. So you can use this match it, this function. And the first thing is you estimate the propensity score. That's the first step. So propensity score is the outcome, use the treatment status, and you want to use a lot of characteristics to predict, to know each individual's their treatment probability, the propensity score. Okay, so that's the first things you do. So you need to use the data frame is this, the NetDui, and the method is you want to use this nearest neighbor. You want to find the closest one. And logit, You use logic to estimate this propensity function, and you don't want to replacement. So it's matching without replacement. So that means you cannot use the same control sample multiple times. Each individual in control group can only use one to match the treatment group. So after you do this, you will get the object called m.out1. That's the name you name by yourself. And then you will use this object. This object basically will tell you the propensity. Each observation is propensity. And you want to use propensity as a criteria to decide who match who. Which individual in control group match the treatment group. So this just say the distance you measure is using the propensity score, but you can use other distance measure you might learn in our class. Okay, and this just tell us you use this object's information to get match data. So match data, this is the function. They use the result in this object, the m.out object, and say I want to use propensity to determine which control sample to match the treatment group sample. And then you get the result. That is the match sample. And then you can use this match sample to run the regression. Just compare the treatment group and control group, their wage difference in 1978. But now the match data, the sample, the control group is all selected by the propensity score, using propensity score to determine who is the control group. Then you can get the propensity score matching result. So you can implement. So the first thing is you will generate a new object that store the propensity score matching result, estimate result, and then you use this object, and using the match data, they will use the result in this object to get the propensity score, and use this propensity score to create the propensity score match data set that called m.data1. So that will generate. So the data set now is become just 370 observation. Is because we select some of the control group to match the treatment group, and based on their propensity score. Okay. So you can see based on the propensity score. Okay. And finally, you just use the data set here based on the propensity score to run the linear regression to directly compare the treatment group and control group, their difference. That will give you the result. And the result will suggest actually join the job training program will also increase your wage. But it's again not very significant. But at least they're different because we kind of correct their difference. And if you want to use the replace, you just replace here, it becomes true. And that will match with the replacement. Okay. So it might get a different result. Actually, it becomes slightly larger and more significant. And you can also, there are some post estimations things you can show. For example, that will show the balance table, treatment control group, their difference, and after match before the match, and also can show the histogram of the propensity score. Okay, and summary of the propensity score. Okay. So that's all for the propensity score match. Thank you.